Hey guys, this is Recidivate, and I'm back with part 2 of my 4-part miniseries of my recent years. Last time, in our last episode, we had talked all about 6th grade, and we ended with what I'm going to start talking about is the summer after 6th grade going into 7th grade and what it was like and how things had changed. So, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it. So, the summer between 6th grade and 7th grade, it was a normal summer. It really was. I was still talking to the same people that I would always talk to, my friends that were both female and male. I still talk to them a lot, I talk to them all the time. I talk to them on Skype, and it was so reassuring whenever I talked to them. They would always have positive things to say, and it'd be just so, it would just reassure me that, I think I have a friendship that's going to last for a very, very long time, and I feel like no matter what happens, these guys are always going to be my friends. However, that unfortunately did change. So the summer was just about over, and we were still talking and everything, and everybody was getting pumped up about 7th grade and stuff like that. The big jump from our elementary school to our high school. I mentioned it before, we don't have a middle school, so it was a big jump. But I'm sure you guys can understand completely. When you go from one school to another, you change. Whether or not you want to, you change to try to fit in some kind of way. And I, unfortunately, changed for the worse. And the worst part of it was that I doubt it. Like most people do, they'll doubt that they change, even though they really do. And they just don't realize it, But school started off, and it started off pretty normal. I was still talking to them and stuff. But then after about 2 weeks of school, people just started to fade away from me in general. And, I kind of like got kept out of their life in any sort of way. It's just kind of like when, a certain something grows old. Kind of like, I used to play, I hate to bring video games into something like this, but, it's just like new Call of Duties. You fade away from the old one, you go to a new one. That's kind of how this is. They saw me as a pretty cool guy, but then they're like, there's some cooler people that I'd rather talk to. So they kind of like faded away from me. And I wasn't at all prepared for it because I had no backup plan. It didn't run through my mind like, oh, well, if all these friends had left me, then I would go and do this instead. But no, I didn't. And I sort of panicked. They moved on with their lives, and it just left me to where I was. And it just wasn't good. But it got to me. It really did. It's not like they would ignore me either. I don't want to, come off in the wrong way here, but I mean, if I went up to them and I wanted to talk to them, I could for a little bit, but then they'd leave the conversation, or they'd bring up something else that I don't care about, like some other person, like some other guy, or anything like that, and I don't feel like, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm a guy myself. You don't have to, I don't know why you would start talking about some other guy when you're talking to a guy right here, and that's kind of how it was. So I just wasn't important to them anymore, and it just kind of got me thinking. I'm like, wow, you guys changed so much, and I'm sitting here not changing. Why would you guys change and then deny it? And unfortunately, I did change, and to this day, I don't know how it is that I changed. It was just something where, obviously, if I had stayed the same, they would still be talking to me, but they weren't. So somehow I had changed, but then I ended up changing because of those events. And it was a very bad change. I went from, this nice guy who's just confused about life to this guy that, I don't really know what to call it, but it was just anger. I remember there's a kid in my grade. He's an awesome guy. I talk to him all the time. And he has something wrong with him. Like mentally wrong with him, like he was born that way. I don't know what it is, and to be honest, I don't want to know what it is, because I know that if I was told exactly what he had or what his problem was, then I would end up saying something to the wrong person, and it just wouldn't be good. So, point is, there is something wrong with him, and people love him because he's so cool. He really is too. But for whatever reason, I ended up saying this. So, one of my friends from before that stopped talking to me had posted a picture on Facebook that I saw with her and the guy I was just talking about, the one that has something wrong with him. And I saw that picture, and the caption was like, "Oh, I love this kid," or something like that. And something just snapped in my head. I'm like, you know what? I am just so much cooler than this guy. How in the world could you like him more than me? And it just got to me. So for whatever damn reason in the fucking world, I decided to go ahead and comment. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember clearly that I did this because it was the stupidest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I had said something like, "Oh, why would you hang out with this guy? You know, I'm so much cooler, and anybody that hangs out with him is going to end up in a ditch," or something like that. And I don't know what was going through my mind. You know, like nowadays, I would not say anything like that because I wouldn't even think like that. And even if I did, I wouldn't say something like that. That's terrible. For me to say something about somebody else in such an abusive manner like that is completely absurd. Especially since he couldn't defend himself. He doesn't have a Facebook. He's a big sports guy. And I talk to him all the time about sports. And every single time I talk to him, I never have a problem with him. Ever. But just something snapped in my mind that night. And from that moment on, I realized that something was not right. Something was not right about me. So I kind of went on this path of recovery that took up the next 2 years of my life, and it really wasn't working. I remember this moment. I had got this one hoodie for I might have just went out and bought it, to be honest, but it had a bunch of fur on the inside, and it was I wish I remembered the company, but it was awesome. I loved it. It was super warm too, and it was like the dead middle of winter, and I had my coat on, and I was about to leave ninth period to go to a basketball game maybe, or whatever I was leaving for, and that girl, the one that had posted the picture with where I commented that terrible thing, I was about to walk out, and she looks right at me. And she says, "Why do you wear that hoodie every single day? It makes you look like an elephant." And it was that moment right there. I will remember that for the rest of my life. Not because, you know, I'm going to keep a grudge with this person. I talk to him these days, you know. I think they're awesome to talk to. Like, she is a very nice woman to talk to. So I'm not going to remember this as a type of grudge. I'm going to remember that because that woke me up. Because I went just from one summer of talking to this person and being great friends to all of a sudden her calling me an elephant because I'm wearing a hoodie that had fur on it, which doesn't make sense to me. I mean, elephants don't have fur, but we're not. Whatever. You know, I didn't even get mad about it. I just remember that because that was a changing point in my life. You know, it kind of proved to me that what I am doing in my life is not what I'm supposed to be doing, no matter what it is. Something that someone says shouldn't bother you, but this bothered me so much that I will remember it forever and ever, because this was my former best friend, and saying this in a not joking manner, a straight serious manner, and it really did bother me, but I can't stay mad at her because of what she said. I can only take that as constructive criticism to repairing my entire life. And that's what I need. That's what I needed when it was almost done with 7th grade. It was a very, very bad grade for me. You know, it seems like the worse and worse I get socially with talking to people, the more and more I get better at basketball. That was my year. You know, I had all this anger that was stocked up in my mind that I just went out and I just pounded kids into the ground in basketball. And I didn't like that at all. You know, I mean, you can brag about that, but to who if you have no one to talk to?
Hunter-killer drone deployed.
It was a very depressing time for me. I went into some kind of depression that I really didn't get out of for the entire summer. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and end it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this very depressing episode. Episode 2 of my recent years. This is 7th grade. Point is, it was bad. And we'll go ahead and talk about episode 3 in the future. So, thank you guys for watching. Peace out.